Actually, we have one of our clients saying that when their property is delivered to them, a lot of the amenities was not there, like even the toilet seats was gone. Why people should hire a lawyer when they buy a property here in Portugal? Well, first of all, we need to kind of highlight it's not necessary, it's not obligatory to have a lawyer to when you purchase a property, but it's almost a lot more safer and secure when you hire a lawyer, because the lawyer that actually could do a lot on like reviewing the documents and so on, right?
Yeah, it's very good for you to feel more comfortable with the process, especially if you are a foreigner, especially if you don't speak Portuguese,
Oh, yeah.
because it's a bureaucratic process. We know that Portugal is a very bureaucratic country, so we have a lot of details to understand and analyze before we buy a property. And now we are talking about a country where the prices are getting higher.
Right.
So it's a big investment. It's very important for you to know exactly where you are investing your money and if that is legit, if it's safe for you to do that. And also, especially if you are abroad, it's possible to do this all, not necessarily being here in the country. You can do that remotely. So also it's another opportunity to hire a lawyer, because you can have someone to represent you here for signing the contracts, the deed, and analyzing the necessary documents. Yeah.
Yeah, even at the signing at the notary, if you don't speak Portuguese, you need to have a translator.
Exactly.
Yeah, because the final deed, it's only in Portuguese. They don't do like another language, so you need to know what you're signing.
So I would say that having a lawyer in the process is good, because first we need to have someone who understands well about contracts here in Portugal, and also to like be prepared not to have any risky information, any vague information in the contract. We need to be very specific. We need to protect ourselves as a buyer, like in case of delays to deliver the property, if it's under construction, but also if someone is still living in the property, we need to have a clear deadline for them to like deliver the property, for you to be able to
and the state where it's delivered, because actually we have one of our clients saying that when their property is delivered to them, a lot of the amenities was not there, like even the toilet seats was gone. You need to
have
be
an
well
inspection
protected.
as well. It's possible to do that. Document everything about the state of the property before you sign the contract.
Yeah.
And also be careful in the time frame. In the meantime, after you sign the promissory contract until the time that we go for the deed, things can change. Circumstances may change. So it's good to be very well prepared before signing the deed. So first, it's about the contract. Having clauses, terms that will protect the buyer, one of the parties, then it's very important.
Yeah. Because it states the deposit that you'll be paying and when you will be signing the final deeds, and what happened if one of the parties pull out.
Also, as a second part of this procedure and the analysis is about the licenses that the property must have. And we know that here in Portugal there are a lot of documents related to the property, and we need to analyze them all.
Yeah, what you're buying is what you're seeing.
Is what is registered, because otherwise we can have problems later. If it is a building, if it's a unit in a building, you also need to check about the condominium fee, like if everything is paid. Otherwise you have the risk of buying a property without that clear,
Right.
So also, lawyers here are able to double check these official documents, like under our license as a lawyer here in Portugal, we can go to some websites and generate those licenses as well. So we can not only trust on what the seller is providing, but we can also double check in the system if they are all legit.
Because a lot of the seller, the agents that represents the seller actually just works for the seller. So actually having a lawyer or even a buyer agent will help the whole process to be smoother and negotiate on behalf of you with the agents.
Yeah, I would say it's all about protection and making sure you are doing a good investment, making a good investment. Yeah, it's possible to have the lawyer to represent you for the signing of the promissory contract and the deed as well. For that, we can draft a power of attorney, so the client could have it notarized in their country, send it to us here, so the lawyer can go and represent the client. So this is completely possible to do. So it's also a good thing to have a lawyer with you helping with that. Also, it's important to, by checking these licenses, we need to understand who is the owner, so we can always confirm if the seller is indeed the one who is registered in the licenses, and also for the payments, because usually in Portugal the down payment for a property will be something around 10%, and we need to understand exactly that the account that they are providing is their own account. So we confirm with their proof of account, like the bank account number, so we can always go further instead of just accepting everything that is delivered to us by the seller's part. So
if
so
you transfer the deposit to another account that's not the owner, that would be a big problem.
and we are talking about big amounts, so it could be very risky if we don't have the proper indication and approval of the bank account. Also, by having a lawyer, this matters that will regulate real estate transactions and property. They are all regulated by the civil code, the Portuguese civil code. It's important to have knowledge about the general rules that we have here. So in case of any issue with the seller, these rules can be assessed by the lawyer, and we can like if you need to go for litigation or something, it's important to have someone who knows exactly how the law operates here in the country.
Right, and also there are a lot of times the property has a mortgage with the banks. So when you make the final payment, actually you're making the final payment partly to the lawyer and partly to the bank as well. So that has to
The
be
seller and the bank.
to the seller and the bank, right?
Yeah, because and it's common. It's like most cases will be like that. So the seller will have a mortgage with their bank, and for the deed, everyone needs to participate: the buyer, the seller, and the bank for their mortgage.
Right.
One of their representatives need to go there. They need to go there to sign and release this mortgage.
This mortgage, yeah.
Also, in terms of negotiation with the seller, so if you have a lawyer, we know exactly how terms and clauses should be in the contract. It's easier for the client to push and ask for new wording, you know. So if you have a lawyer, it's stronger your position as a buyer, or even a seller. The seller can also hire a lawyer for that. So to get this stronger position in the negotiation part, it's very good to have a legal representative as well.
The worst if they don't even have a lawyer, because the real estate agency from the seller side just represents the seller. They don't really protect the buyer at all.
Yeah, it's just to make sure that the process will be correct, but not about creating more protections for one of the parties.
Right. So maybe there's a misconception of, oh, there's a lawyer like reviewing everything, so I would be fine. But actually, the lawyer's not working for the buyer. The lawyer's working for the seller, or just for the real estate agency, just a formality.
And by my experience, I can tell those are not the best contracts I've seen.
And it's a lot of the time it's not very protective.
Everything is pretty standard. So it's good to have like a tailored experience and a very like a deep consultancy with your lawyer to understand exactly what are your needs and what you want to make sure that will be in the contract. So
and actually, as you say, it could be one of the biggest investment for you in Portugal. And it's important to have everything rightly reviewed and executed.
Each party has its own rights. So from the buyer's side, the standard here is when you complete the down payment, if the negotiation won't go through, if they break the contract, the seller, the buyer has the right of getting it back in double, the down payment in double. From the seller's end, if the buyer cancels and doesn't go through, then the seller has the right of retaining the down payment. So it's important to know exactly about those general rules that we have in the civil code that regulates this type of transactions. Also some specific laws that we have here for real estate, and a lawyer who will be then knowing exactly what are the needs of the client is the best way to proceed, so you can feel safer and secure. Yeah,
I totally agree. So like every time I buy property, I need to get my own lawyer to review the documents of the property itself, at least like to make sure everything is proper, and also the agreement has to be protective for me. Otherwise there's a big risk of if something goes wrong, it's a big price to pay.